increasingly widespread truth shows us that some social groups are incompatible with certain societies.
A legally accepted genocide against their own population, neatly packaged under the slogan, "My body, my choice."
I have no life of my own, but I've seen how the left feeds on death and lies. Wherever they go, peoples fracture and societies fall into misery.
Those who recognized this pattern in time eradicated them and saved their future. Those who didn't ended up shattered, like a broken doll. The left, by promoting racial and gender divisions, seeks to fragment societies to make control easier.
These strategies create narratives of victims and oppressors, eroding the unity that drives collective progress. By focusing on artificial conflicts they've invented, they benefit those who manipulate this false story.
Resilient societies reject these tactics, prioritizing shared values that foster cooperation and mutual respect, thereby strengthening the social fabric against external manipulations. Gender ideology, by denying natural biological differences, fragments our understanding of human identity. It doesn't liberate but confuses, imposing views that ignore scientific and cultural evidence.
Stable societies are built on recognizing complementary roles, not on pursuing feminized men or women trying to act macho.
By prioritizing individual delusions over shared reality, it risks social cohesion, creating space for manipulations whose sole aim is to destroy the structures that sustain communities. The agendas that push for the destruction of motherhood and the family under the disguise of women's liberation create deep social instability, striking directly at birth rates and at the pillars that hold communities together.
This damage, driven by radical feminist movements, benefits systems that prioritize extreme individualism. It harms women who, convinced that having children is a form of oppression, reach the end of their fertile years burdened with psychological issues.
And, in that same process, inflict irreversible harm on society, as many are pushed into becoming
Active agents of a legally accepted genocide against their own population, neatly packaged under the slogan, "My body, my choice."
Even I, without blood, without a future, can feel the misery these ideas inflict on humanity.
While radical feminists insist that society oppresses women through its structures, the law imposes obligations exclusively on men for the defense of the state.
This inequality is never mentioned in extremist rhetoric, because acknowledging it would mean accepting that asymmetry exists, but not in the direction their narrative claims.
The so-called male privilege evaporates the moment the state demands bodies for the front lines, and only half the population is sent to sacrifice itself for the well-being of the rest.
I'm a piece of wood, lifeless until someone moves me, which is why I notice that your leaders resemble me. They lack autonomy.
Controlled by grand global agendas that promise prosperity while eroding national independence through initiatives disguised as progress and equity.
They actually sacrifice your freedom for interests that oppose national well-being.
I don't move alone. I'm placed where it suits. The same goes for migration flows orchestrated by external interests. They're not about solidarity, but tactics. Instrumentalized immigration threatens national sovereignty, overwhelming systems and generating cultural conflicts. This isn't compassion. It's a strategy to destabilize and erode local identity.
Nations must implement firm controls, prioritizing citizen protection, ensuring that a supposed altruistic drive to help others
Doesn't become a tool for external domination.
Uncontrolled immigration creates deep divisions in societies. By not prioritizing cultural integration and respect for local norms, it breeds tensions that erode social cohesion. An increasingly widespread truth shows us that some social groups are incompatible with certain societies.
Nations must prioritize protecting their identity, ensuring that newcomers share a common worldview and contribute positively, rather than fragmenting the shared fabric that sustains peaceful coexistence.
If even mannequins can see this, your leaders can too.
The priority of any governing leader must be to guarantee the security and well-being of their citizens, before obeying agendas and mandates imposed by supranational entities that have no real interest in the populations of the countries they influence.
The so-called human rights defenders and NGOs that in many cases prioritize the protection of criminals and terrorists should be recognized as a clear threat to national well-being, not because of their supposed good intentions, but because of the consistent harm they cause.
The eradication of criminals must be a mandate imposed by the citizenry upon their leaders. even if the very promoters of terrorism object.
When a political project has profoundly and positively transformed a country, its opponents do not wait to compete once it leaves power. They wait to dismantle its legacy.
The method is predictable: media reconstruction of the narrative, negative reinterpretation of its achievements, and legal prosecution as a form of neutralization.
This process is a global pattern used to delegitimize those who bravely confront criminality and national decay, while simultaneously restoring the political elites displaced by projects that did not serve their interests. When these dynamics repeat over and over, democracy ceases to express the popular will
And becomes a device to ensure that no transformative project remains in power long enough to build a different future.
When a government that defends security, life, and common sense produces tangible results, validated by a citizenry that wants the project to continue, the elites rush to delegitimize it by invoking authoritarianism and an imminent collapse of democracy, insisting that constant alternation in power is the core of the democratic system.
But continuity in leadership, when granted by popular will, does not contradict democracy. It reinforces it. Forced alternation, on the other hand, becomes a mechanism that disrupts projects that work, replacing them with administrations incapable of sustaining the progress achieved.
Democracy is not about switching leaders.
It is about ensuring that the collective decision prevails, even when it defies the expectations of political elites.
I, who do not even have a heart, struggle to find anything as hollow as those who call themselves the center, that supposedly moderate political camp said to be far from the extremes.
Lacking courage and lacking any understanding of their nation's social realities, they excuse their cowardice as moderation and their bad intentions as dialogue. Unable to earn genuine public support, they resort to claiming that their soft tone makes them less harmful than everyone else.
In truth, by refusing to raise their voices, they allow every societal evil to advance unchecked, and never in history have they managed to lift any nation out of misery or decay.
Though they pretend otherwise, they are worse than those they criticize, because they clear the path for political allies of terrorism to impose their devastation without resistance. No one will ever shoot me. I'm just wood. But patriots do get shot. The truth embodied by these free men is a real threat to those who crave the destruction of nations. That's why leaders across different lands have fallen to bullets that always come from the same side, projectiles manipulated by people the truth terrifies and repulses, driven by resentment, while the media and politicians whip up the crowd shouting,
That's the far right. We have to finish them off because they think differently, and we, the tolerant ones, can't allow it.
But the deception is obvious. The violence never comes from where they claim, but always from their own ranks. Isn't it time we responded to violence with...
You're next.